I appreciate you guys inviting me into your house. I will take my shoes off before I enter. I will pick up after myself. But you two fellas in a heap of trouble. All these people that they polled from Dallas, the one thing we like are winners.
Preach. I just want you to listen to the gospel he is spewing.
The Cowboys need to win something. You don't pay a quarterback $20 million a year to lead the league in rushing. It's not if, it's when will Johnny Manziel get the starting role. And I'm being generous. I'm being very generous. If my owner had said that about me, he can't even pick up the phone and call me. He was angry and he was very childish. You have to crawl before you can stand upright and walk. The guy that graduates from Harvard, he can be my lawyer, he can be my accountant. I don't want him as my quarterback.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously you figure out what we're doing here. We have Shannon Sharpe on the show. The show's about Shannon.
Well, I think it's over.
Okay, we should go home?
That's all we needed.
All right, we're done.
No,
we're done? No, okay.
Because last time you weren't here, Carrie.
Yeah.
And so I had to come back and do it with Carrie.
Oh, so that was why.
That's the main reason.
After the beat down.
After the beat down.
No.
You didn't suffer a beat down.
No.
You were awesome.
In all honesty, usually when I'm sitting across from the man who occupies that throne over there, I can come with my B game, maybe my B plus.
Yes.
Today, I got to bring my A game.
A plus game. A plus, yeah.
I'm coming with it today.
Okay, well.
We miss you, Stephen.
Exactly. Our dear friend Stephen A. Smith is taking a few days off, so you'll be sitting here. We've got a Hall of Famer here, guys, so it's an upgrade. We still love you, Stephen, but Shannon's hanging out with us. Coming up on the show today, Tom Brady is not happy about the latest Patriot trade, but can you blame him? We will discuss. And former college football coach Bobby Bowden will be here as the college football season kicks off. But first, let's talk about it. It was a story that we thought was another reason to feel good about humanity, but it turns out it was all a lie. Team captain and USC cornerback Josh Shaw admits he lied about how he sprained his ankles. Shaw told a tale that he jumped from a second-floor balcony to rescue his 7-year-old nephew from drowning. All a lie. He's suspended indefinitely, and here's his statement. On Saturday, August 23rd, 2014, I injured myself in a fall. I made up a story about this fall that was untrue. I was wrong not to tell the truth. I apologize to USC for this action on my part. My USC coaches, the USC athletic department, and especially Coach Steve Sarkisian have all been supportive of me during my college career, and for that, I am very grateful. Here's our Shelley Smith with the latest.
His attorney says that there was nothing criminal that went on that night, and we'll see. I guess we'll find out. I talked to LAPD today, and they said no, they didn't believe there was anything criminal either, but yet we don't know a lot. So if he can convince, I think, the USC family, and Steve Sarkisian is very big into the Trojan family. He grew up in Torrance. He grew up watching the Trojans. He is really big on rebuilding the family. And I said, "Do you want the swagger back with his team?" And he goes, "No, I want the team back." And so I think that he has a chance if he can convince, first if he can get healthy, and if he can convince Sark that he truly was sorry, he did make a mistake, and it's part of growing up. And I think that he would have a chance if he gets healthy to make it back.
All right, quick recap. Shelley Smith believes there is no criminal activity. However, we should note that Shaw has hired an attorney, so we will see where it goes from here. I've heard people compare this to the Manti Te'o story, but for me, Shannon, there's no comparison. To me, this is far more duplicative. What is your take on everything that's happened?
Skip, Carrie, my grandmother used to always tell my brother and I, there's a little truth even in a lie.
Okay.
The only truth in this lie is that he hurt himself. He lied about how he hurt himself. And as you read, you said everybody wanted to believe that there was still good in humanity. When he told this story, I had a hard time believing it because he was telling the narrative. No one else did. And I'm saying to myself, okay, if this great act of heroism was documented, everybody has it on cell phone, camcorder, video recorder, but it's just him telling the story. And so I'm thinking to myself, it's not right. Something's not right here. And for him not only to tell the lie, but then perpetuate it by releasing a statement saying that what I did was nothing special, I would do that for any kid, when you actually did nothing to begin with. So not only did you tell the lie, you exacerbated the situation by making it worse. So now how do you trust a guy that can concoct a story like this to cover his actions. I'm disappointed. Not it calls into question. Not every time I see a story where someone rescues a baby or rescues a dog, did you put the dog in harm's way to begin with? Did you put the baby in harm's way to begin with so you can be this hero all of a sudden? It calls into question, and I hate being so cynical. I hate being skeptical of people because I think there's good in everybody. But now I don't know what to believe. What is truth and what is fiction?
So you're just waking up to the fact that you need to be pretty wary when you watch what you watch people say on television or on websites.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. I think we all should know, and we all have learned and should have learned a long time ago, the world is fraught with con artists who are skilled to the point of being gifted actors or actresses. They're everywhere in the world of sports. I don't know how many times over the years my dear mother has said to me, so-and-so, whom she just saw on television, seems like such a nice guy. and I happen to know so-and-so because maybe I've done television with so-and-so or covered him in some locker room somewhere. And I know for a fact so-and-so is not a nice guy.
Not one of your peers.
No, thank you very much. And I say, Mom, you got to wake up. No, he seems, no, you got to wake up. So this is another wake up and be wary kind of a story. But let's get down to this young man, Josh Shaw, who gave the commencement address at USC, who was elected a team captain at USC. Why yesterday didn't Josh Shaw then come forward and address the assembled media to tell us all exactly how he did injure both of his ankles? What happened? We still don't know.
Right.
So, unfortunately, I and we here are left to guess again, right?
Sure.
So, we know for one fact, he has hired a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah.
Just silly me. Just silly me.
Yeah.
As I look back, I don't know anyone who's ever hired a criminal defense attorney unless that person at least was concerned he might be accused of some sort of criminal activity. Is that fair?
Yes,
sure.
Fair.
And I'm guessing because Josh left us in the dark again yesterday about what the true story is. Okay, now I got to start leaping to some other conclusions here, or at least guessing about why would you concoct such an outrageously self-serving, heroic lie? Why would you do that? Okay, number one, you could be deeply embarrassed about what truly did happen, right?
What caused the accident?
Okay, what did happen? Maybe it's just embarrassment. See Manti Te'o.
Right.
And I concluded on Manti, I think he was deeply embarrassed by getting catfished. That's just me. Other people have different views of that. That's what I took away from that episode. Okay, so then you might, and I'm going to give Josh one little benefit of the doubt here. You might lie like this to protect a loved one because somebody else was guilty of something that you're trying to help cover up. And that probably is not operating here, but I'm going to give him that possible out. But in the end, if he lied and concocted an outrageously heroic lie to cover up some sort of criminal behavior, even borderline criminal behavior, this is as low as it goes.
You're right about that.
This is to the point of being soulless.
Yes.
And when I say soulless, you got no soul, man. To go that far and then back it up with that statement, I would have done this for, I'd save any child by jumping from the second story to save a drowning child.
Well, considering that you didn't save the child to begin with.
Okay,
but
thank you.
My thing is, Skip, now even if he tells us how he injured, how do I believe it? You lied to begin with. So what is truth now? A college professor once told me, he said, Shannon, the night has 1,000 eyes. On most nights,
that was pre-social media, right?
The night has 1,000 eyes. Most night, it has 1,002, because someone sees you, even though you don't think they do. So someone had, for this to get out, because, Skip, he would have never, ever come forward and revealed the truth had not someone saw what transpired that night, that day. And, you know, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. But to go overboard like he went.
Sure.
To say, I'm a hero. And people was talking, I saw people talking about him on this network, how great a hero he is.
Yeah, we were applauding him.
When
we thought he was
in
great.
actuality, he's a fraud, he's a sham.
He's a fraud.
He's a young man. But you know what? Even young men know right from wrong. The worst thing you can do is to cover up an act when you've already done wrong. Because now, everybody moving forward, they're going to always go back to this situation and wonder whether or not you're telling the truth. Because you can only cry wolf for so long before people stop believing.
All right. So, what is your guess as to why he did not come forward and address the media yesterday?
Skip, I try to do my very best not to speculate, not to get in conjecture. I can't. I've tried on the way up here yesterday. I'm trying to wrap my mind around why would he do this? Of all the, hey, okay, I was running and I fell down the steps. Brian Greasy once revealed that he tripped over his dog and stumbled down the steps.
I remember this. Yeah.
Just come up, but when you involved, you said, okay, I jumped from a second-story window to save my nephew. Now you bring other people into your life. And people have to, you got family members. But if you think about it, the only person that was really trying to cover up his story or to back his story was his sister. No one else. Not a friend, not the nephew, not the mom, not his mom. No one else came to the rescue and said, "Yeah, this is what happened." So, like I said, when things of this nature normally happen, someone has it recorded.
Yeah.
Media outlets, you don't have to tell us you rescued the dog from the river.
Okay.
We see it. Yeah. We hear about it.
I agree. Okay, so bottom line, Josh Shaw is a pretty good football player. Mm-hmm. He's a draftable football player.
Yes.
How would you consider Josh Shaw if your football team was considering drafting Josh Shaw?
I want to sit down and really talk to him and get to the bottom of why he did what he did. I'm a forgiving person, and I believe that you make a mistake, you do something, and you own up to it, and you can overcome that. But, man, I'm always skeptical. Once a liar, it's hard to break that cycle. It's hard for me to trust you again.
Right.
I agree with that. And in the end, I do think it is incumbent upon this young man to address the media.
Yeah.
And again, should we believe that story tells?
If he whatever he gets, and when he steps in front of that podium, and he addresses the media, are you going to believe 50% of what he's saying, 75, 100, 25? What do you actually believe that's coming out of his mouth?
I don't know. I would like to see him in front of the cameras because
you can
a la Ray Rice when he gave his apology press conference, you can a lot of times
demeanor.
You can read into his body language.
Sources have told ESPN LA that they believe this could involve something with his girlfriend. They don't know yet, but again, they're still saying they don't believe it's criminal activity. The attorney only hired for advice. Let's move on, gentlemen. Perhaps this Josh will learn, but we'll talk about another Josh that has not learned. Browns wide receiver, Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon's one-year suspension for violating the league's substance abuse policy is being upheld. Gordon, a repeat offender, and by way of background, you see the list there. In 2013, suspended first 2 games of the regular season after failing a drug test. In a statement, he later said it was cough medicine that contained codeine. And you may also remember that he was arrested earlier this year, DWI in Raleigh. Gordon issued an apology to the team, fans, and family, but he actually took no responsibility for his actions. I'd like to apologize to my teammates, coaches, and the Cleveland Browns organization and our fans. I'm very disappointed that the NFL and its hearing office didn't exercise better discretion and judgment in my case. I would like to sincerely thank the people who've been incredibly supportive of me during this challenging time, including my family, my agent, my union, my legal team, and the Cleveland Browns staff. Shannon, he uses these words, discretion and judgment, in that statement. You mentioned this in our morning meeting. Clearly actions that Josh did not use himself. What do you think his future is in the NFL?
Not one time in that statement that you was reading, Carrie, did he say he let himself down. The problem with Josh Gordon is that he surrounded himself with people that tell him what he wants to hear instead of what he needs to know. See, Josh Gordon, and Skip, give me just a second here. Let me explain something to you. Josh Gordon probably grew up like I did. And we consider ourselves buses because we carry a lot of folks, family, relatives, friends. So a lot of people is counting on Josh Gordon. You don't want him to stop that bus and ask you to get off. So if you tell Josh Gordon he has a problem, there's a good chance he's going to stop the bus and ask you to exit. See, the problem that I have with Josh Gordon, he won't admit that he has a problem. See, even the smoke that was in his lungs, the molecule that was broken down in his body belonged to someone else. It came through secondhand smoke.
Yep.
He won't admit that there is a problem. Therein lies the problem. Now, we can come up here and say, well, the NFL should do more. The Cleveland Browns should do more. But you can only do what a man will allow you to do.
Yep.
And Josh Gordon won't allow any help because he doesn't think he is a problem. Now, we give it a nice name. You know, we've become very, what's the word I want to use? We're politically correct.
Yep.
Oh, he's an addict. Well, I'm going to simplify it for you. He's a junkie. See, and when we call junkies, we think of meth, heroin, cocaine. Josh Gordon is a marijuana junkie. Simple. That's what he is. He can't stop. He can't help himself. Because here, just what he did. This is $50 million. Mm-hmm. He just threw it away. Because he can't stop. Because, see, that's what an addict does. See, an addict, no matter what the consequences and what the rewards are, he was willing to suffer the consequences over the rewards, the financial rewards.
Yep.
So he just said, you know what? I don't care. And for him, even if it was secondhand smoke, you know you're not supposed. You're one strike away from being gone for a year. So you know you should not even be in the presence of someone that's doing that. And for you to allow yourself to be in that company, it shows me that you have no regards. The NFL, to have the credibility that it wants to maintain through the CBA drug policy, they had to suspend it for nothing less than a year.
Yep. Okay. Okay, for the record, it has been reported that Josh Gordon actually went to rehab late last July, July 24th. Well, he couldn't have lasted very long because then he was in camp soon after that. So I don't know what kind of a rehab stint that really was, and obviously I'm going to guess it didn't really take.
No.
Okay. So here's the question, back to your original question. What kind of future does he have? I don't know. I'm not sure, because we're about to find out whether he just hit rock bottom, as they call it, in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Sure.
Bottom, a la Chris Carter when he got cut by Philadelphia and Buddy Ryan, and he finally woke up and said, I'm in danger of losing my football life. And he sought help, and it took hold, and it continues to hold strong with him today, and he's in the Hall of Fame because of it. You're old enough to remember Doc Gooden, who could have been the greatest pitcher in the history of the game.
Spectacular.
In the history of the game, and he wasted much of his greatness because he kept giving in to his, whatever you want to call it, issue or junkiness or whatever you want to term it, okay? Darryl Strawberry went down that same road to hell a few times, too many. Okay, so this is going to be the second time I'm going to bring up my dear mother in the A block, which is a record, and I promise I won't do it again, Mom, the rest of the show, but I can only speak from my painful experience. I didn't grow up where you grew up, where you're talking junkie versus addict. Mm-hmm. I grew up as the oldest kid in a household with two alcoholics who could not stop drinking, either one of them. My father drank himself to death my freshman year in college, just absolutely keeled over and died from cirrhosis of the liver. My mom had a car wreck that nearly killed her and was dragged by my brother and sister, because I was away at college, to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it saved her life. And to this day, she will not miss a meeting because she says she has a disease. So in your neighborhood, you're junkie. In my neighborhood, in my household, it's a disease. Does Josh Gordon have a disease? Could he come to grips with the fact he was born with some malfunction in his system whereby continuing to smoke or drink alcohol are more important to him than the fame and fortune that he could have, that we all see that he could have in professional football?
At this present time, it is.
Okay? That's what I'm saying. It's like that's more important We know Josh Gordon because he's been on the show. I've looked in his eye. I think he has a high IQ. I think he thinks he's smarter than the rest of us, and he's more gifted than the rest of it. This is a gifted young. You know how gifted this man. He dominated the sport last year.
Led the league in receiving after missing
2 games. What do you have? 8 200-yard plus games. It's like,
yeah, he's the only player in NFL history to have back-to-back 200-yard games.
Okay. So we get that. Does Josh get that? I don't know.
No.
So again, I'm having to put it in my frame of reference. Alcoholism, AA, you have to hit bottom, and then we find out what you're really made of. Do you have the guts to get help and embrace the help? Because embracing is, you can't just go along for the ride and say, I'll go through a couple of weeks of this. I'll tune them out and act like I'm actually listening when I'm really not. Okay, can you hit absolute bottom and then a la Chris Carter, save yourself? Because if he does, we're talking about a Hall of Fame arc that he's set on right now, right?
Right. Time out, guys, because you guys we're answering the question, what do we expect for his NFL future? This just in, it's being reported that he's considering going to the CFL for the remainder of the year and play there.
Well, that's not getting any help.
Kerry, and therein lies what Skip and I have been talking about.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that he has a problem.
Nope.
So instead of addressing the issue, see, the saying is that we create our own demons. Only we can chase them away. The NFL can come in and say, look, we have this program. The Cleveland Browns can say, we have this program, Josh, but until Josh Gordon realizes that he has a serious problem and meets it head on, now he says, you know what? You won't let me play with you in the NFL. I'll pick up my ball and go to the CFL because I don't have a problem. This doesn't need to be addressed. But at some point in time, and you ask the question, what's his future? Because he's so talented, because his production level is so high, there's always going to be that one coach, that one owner, we can change it. But until he realizes that he has, Skip says it's a disease, I call it a weakness. Until he realizes and strengthens that weakness, we're going to be, guess what? We'll be right back here next. Now, he has to stay clean the year that he's being suspended. He still gets tested 10 times a month.
Okay.
So he still must maintain, be clean, or else, guess what, Skip? It's another year.
Okay.
Another year.
Tom Brady has lost his protection. Guard Logan Mankins has been traded to Tampa, and Chasen Cole of the Bleacher Report says Brady is not happy. Here's the quote. Tom Brady had a very emotional reaction to what happened yesterday. He was not happy with this move. There's usually a very special bond that you have between offensive linemen and quarterbacks. Brady initially is very upset about this. We'll see how he reacts going forward. He usually finds his calm after a day or two. Cole also reporting the Patriots wanted Logan Mankins to take a $2.5 million pay cut as far back as February. Mankins refused. Shannon, you're on the team from a perch. How would you react if you were on the Patriots?
I'm a little surprised because I think he's their best offensive lineman. But I trust Bill Belichick wholeheartedly. Bill Belichick has won 3 Super Bowls.
Okay.
He's been to 2 others. Anytime a coach of his magnitude makes a move like this, I believe he's doing it for the betterment of the team. I'll give you an example. Mike Shanahan tried to trade me twice after I went to 7 straight Pro Bowls, 4 first-team All-Pro, and won 2 Super Bowls because he felt that he could make the team better. And I thought about it. You saying to me that you can make your team better by replacing me. And that's what Bill Belichick said. Clearly, Bill Belichick and Mr. Kraft don't care what Tom Brady thinks because Lawyer Malloy, Richard Seymour, Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, I'm running there is no sentimentality when it comes to the New England Patriots. Hey, this ain't a Lifetime Achievement Award over here, bro. You want that, you go to the Oscars or the Grammys. We do production every day. Update your resume. People hear me say it all the time. Update your resume every single day. The New England Patriots, they run an operation that says, okay, you can help us win. How long can you help us win? When we feel we can bring someone in better that can replace you at a cheaper cost but gives us the same production, you got to go. And I've gone, have my run-ins with Coach Belichick, but there's one thing you can't deny. He's a heck of a football coach. And I would, if I was on that team, although I would be disappointed that one of my fellow teammates is no longer there, Coach Belichick trying to get us to win, trying to win championships. Right. And he did this. He felt this was the best move for the team. I'm riding with him. I ride with Bill Belichick.
Shannon Sharpe had run-ins with Bill Belichick?
Shocking. What kind?
Well, I just voiced my displeasure on how he handled certain situations. Okay. Not run-ins, but off the field, if you meet Coach Belichick away from the game of football, just sitting around talking, he's a different guy.
He's a different guy. This is a cold-blooded and great organization that they run.
Absolutely.
And most great ones are pretty cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded, yeah. Right? Apropos.
I am with you on the heart of your opinion because I have already been on record on this show that New England will win the AFC and get to the Super Bowl. And when I first heard this, I couldn't come to grips with it. And I must tell you, even as I sit here right now, as much as in Belichick I trust, I'm a little nervous about it because this was a 32-year-old, not a 36 or 38-year-old. This was a 32-year-old who had made 5 straight Pro Bowls, a la Shannon Sharpe on the trade block. 3 straight years has been voted captain of this football or a captain of this football team, widely acknowledged as a locker room presence and force, and you can't replace that.
One of the better guards in the National Football League.
I get that. So how can I justify that trading for a kid who's been a bit of a project, a wide receiver, undrafted wide receiver turned tight end, Tim Wright, caught 54 balls for Tampa last year. I hope for their sake he can become kind of a poor man's Aaron Hernandez. They did get a 4th rounder on top of Tim Wright. But still, is that enough for Logan Mankins when I'm all about, as far as selfishly sitting here, I'm about win now. Win this Super Bowl, not the next one or the next one because you helped your salary cap. And it was also reported widely that he was asked to take pay cuts, about, $6.5 million down to $4 million?
2.5, as I said.
Fine, that's fine.
Okay,
I get it because you're going to have to pay Revis and you're going to have to pay McCourty and Solder and others who are going to come due here pretty soon. I get all that, but that's looking 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Yeah.
But in this case, I can't justify it on its surface unless, as I said yesterday, Bill Belichick knows something we don't know about the declining play or performance of Logan Mankins, who I still believe is one of the top guards, but maybe he did miss a 4th down block in that Denver AFC Championship game that they lost, obviously, at Denver. I don't know, did that have something to do with it? Was it just about the money? Because it seems like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face a little bit if you're looking at long-term cap versus pay me, it's pay me now, pay me later.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want them to pay now because I would like to see them go win the Super Bowl.
Well, with Coach Belichick, you got to ride with him. You got to trust him. Now, he traded Logan Mankins. He didn't trade Tom Brady. That's the engine that makes everything go.
Thank you.
So let's not get carried away. I understand that Logan Mankins is a 6-time Pro Bowler, went to 5 consecutive Pro Bowls. But Tom Brady, Coach Belichick believes in Tom Brady. He believes in his system. He believes in his coaches that we can get these guys to do what we need to do. And when you really think about it, there's only one challenger in the AFC. That's the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So let's not kid ourselves.
Speaking of that.
So, and quickly, let me ask you this.
Yes.
You said something about maybe Brady and Belichick rather knows something we don't know. You think Logan has 1 or 2 seasons left? That's what's being reported. He doesn't have that much left in him, and you think maybe might have a little more.
Maybe, but even again, I'm being self-serving here. Even if he has 1 really good season left, that's all I really care about right now. So I care about winning now because I think they are poised, as we're about to debate, to win this year's Super Bowl, or at least get to this year's Super Bowl.
The only thing, Kerry, is that when players all of a sudden they don't perform to the level that we think, the organization wants the players to take a pay cut.
Yes.
Well, I think the NFL broadcast partners, when the teams miss the playoffs, like your Cowboys, they need to give about $300 million back of that $7 billion TV
They're not mine anymore.
They're not yours? You're done?
It's on. Yeah, I'm out.
Glitz and glamour now. All right.
No more glitz and glamour.
The Football Outsiders Almanac has run 1 million simulations for the 2014 NFL season on ESPN.com Insider, projecting the chances that each team wins the Super Bowl. Again, 1 million simulations. In order of most likely to least likely, here are the Super Bowl championship chances for the AFC. Broncos, 16.9%. The Patriots, 7.1%. No one else even came close. Take a look at that. All right, so let's look at stats, statistics, simulations. Shannon, you agree?
Well, I do agree because I think they've done the most. I mean, you look at them offensively. Peyton Manning is back, and he's only going to improve now. I don't expect him, but he might, considering the way they're calling these rules, the incidental contact and the illegal contact. That's going to keep a lot of drives alive. That keeps the Peyton Manning on the football field. Yeah, they lost Eric Decker, but I believe Emmanuel Sanders can replace 3/4, maybe even all of the production that he's going to lose with Decker. Now I go to the side of the ball where they were most effective, where they were least effective, excuse me. They're bringing in DeMarcus Ware. They're bringing in T.J. Ward. They're bringing in Aqib Talib. They're a better football team with those guys on the football field. Now, we know the last couple of years DeMarcus Ware has been unable to stay healthy for significant stretches of time. I know you criticized DeMarcus Ware for not being that guy in the big games, come up and get that big sack. T.J. Ward was going to make that secondary better. Aqib Talib will make that secondary better. I don't see, there's nothing in that simulation that would cause me to say they got it wrong by picking the Broncos have a greater chance of getting to the Super Bowl than the New England Patriots.
Okay, but remember, not only do I believe they got it wrong, this simulation is saying the Denver Broncos are a prohibitive favorite to win the AFC, right? Their chances are more than twice New England's chances of winning this year's Super Bowl.
Why do you think the Patriots are, if not equal to or if not better, chance to getting to the Super Bowl than the Broncos?
I'm embarrassed to be discussing this.
Why?
This is a ludicrous topic to me. Because for all you say about the Broncos, by the way, I think you're speaking a little
from your heart. From his heart. He's not objective in this issue.
That's okay. I respect that.
No, I'm gonna give it to you straight. If I didn't think they had a chance.
Okay. All right. Now, I do agree with you. You would lay it on the line.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you that Denver's offense this year might be about that much better than New England's, but just about that much. And we still don't know about Wes Welker. I assume he will try to go on and play. We may discuss this a little later. But my point is, can he stay healthy? I'm not sure about that. And that would be a significant loss if, in fact, he suffers another concussion and can't finish the year. Okay? Let's go back to Denver's defense. I agree with you about T.J. Ward on the back end shoring it up. That was a big-time acquisition. Again, as a Patriots supporter on this show, I'm not a Talib supporter because he cannot stay healthy and he will not show up when you need him the most. I can show you Monday night games and I can show you AFC championship games against Baltimore and Denver the last couple of years. I just don't trust him to be there when you need him, and you nailed it on DeMarcus Ware. I am a Cowboy fan, unfortunately. I was born that way. I
can't help it. It's in your blood.
It's a disease.
Yes, it's
right? Okay.
All pun intended.
Yeah. So my point is that I kept waiting. DeMarcus, where are you? I need you today, big man. Because I had him back in like 2009. There was a game late in the year at New Orleans. Remember when they beat the undefeated Saints? And DeMarcus Ware just took over Breeze and company. Okay, I haven't seen it since. Like, where are you, big man? Now, maybe this will be his rebirth, and he'll be challenged again, and he'll come to play. I don't know. I don't trust it. And I look at all the losses on that Denver defense, starting with Champ Bailey, DRC, Sean Phillips, Wesley Woodyard, Robert Ayers, Mike Adams, Paris Lennon. I can go. They lost a lot of stuff on that defense. These are hogs that were important to me.
What did Champ give them last year?
Yeah, not much.
Presence,
leadership. No. That's not how you win. You don't win with presence. You win with guys making plays, and that's what they need on the defensive side of the football. See, sometimes we get caught up and we hold on to guys longer than what we actually should.
Fine.
And the Broncos ran into that. DRC, they had the money on the table. He wanted $12, $13 million a year. He's not that guy. Now, you talk about a guy that will go down on you. He is a front-running guy. When it's going good early, you're going to have a tough time dealing with DRC.
All right.
But when it goes bad,
you give him that.
Hamstring is growing, all that.
He'll give you that, my friend.
Lead. Okay, now back to my team, the Patriots. Defensively, you cannot tell me this defense isn't better than Denver's defense.
What?
When you bring back Wilfork and Mayo, and you add Revis and Browner in the secondary that was already pretty good, I'm sorry.
There's one strike. Remember, one strike away.
Well, he's still eligible. The last time I looked,
he's still playing. That's all that.
Hold up. Okay. Isn't he going to miss part of the season?
I think he's missing the first 2 games. Deontay, how many games will he miss? Tell us.
He's going to miss part of the game.
Okay. They're already pretty deep in their secondary.
Wolford is an older guy coming off an Achilles injury. Okay. You had that injury. You know it's really tough for a big guy.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so afraid that Belichick cut Will Smith and Tommy Kelly from the defensive line rotation because it's so deep. I'm saying that's all I need to know. I'm good. Yeah. This defense will be better than Denver's. And Brady's offense, when you add Brandon LaFell on top of Julian Edelman and Amendola, and I think Gronkowski's going to be there for a while.
Now, you want to talk about can't stay healthy.
Okay, all right. But again, hey, maybe Tim Wright will be the new Gronkowski.
But let's talk about Akeem Talib, seriously. You said, all last season you said that. You were bullish on him, but you would always be if he can go.
Yeah, see the Monday night game. Remember at Cam?
Yeah,
remember the Carolina Monday night game?
Go.
And Cam goes to length the field 80 yards to win the game, although there was a
we won't get into that.
There was a penalty at the end of the game. Yes, I won't even start on that. But Cam did go drive and win the game, and Akeem Talib watched from the sideline.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
So honestly, can he stay healthy? Will he be a factor? Will that be a key factor?
We haven't seen him stay healthy. Sometimes a change of scenery, maybe the way you practice, maybe the way they do things in Denver, maybe the the training staff, maybe they treat injuries a little differently. He hasn't. So that's all we can base it on, Kerry. He has not stayed healthy, and when the team needs him the most, he's not on the field. But I think the Broncos' offensive line, they do get Ryan Clady back.
Hey, now that is big time. I give you that
part. So now you take the left tackle that filled in for Clady, put him on the right side.
Hey, Peyton Manning will win yet another MVP, and the Patriots will win the AFC.
Well, our next guest spent 34 seasons as the head football coach at Florida State and led the Seminoles to 2 national titles. His book, The Wisdom of Faith, will be in stores Monday, September 1st. We welcome to the desk Bobby Bowden. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. How are you? How you feel?
It's good to be here.
All right. Well, obviously, we have to ask you about Florida State. Earlier this week, we had the Mouth of the South on the show, Paul Feinbaum, whom I'm sure you're familiar with. Oh, yeah. And he was very candid in saying that the issues at Florida State pertaining to Jameis Winston are very severe in terms of how people feel about him and how he won't win another Heisman because of his off-the-field issues. So let's listen to what he had to say, and then we'll get your reaction. Yeah. All right.
Will crab legs cost Jameis this Heisman Trophy?
Yes.
Yes.
And
really?
You gotta be kidding.
Really?
I am not kidding. I think there's a lot of anti-Jameis sentiment out there, just like there was anti-Johnny Manziel sentiment because of his rather poor offseason last year. And Jameis Winston does not present to everyone, Stephen, a likable image. Some people love the fact that he's in your face, and that's what the team rallies around. We saw that last year on Labor Day night when he took, as a freshman, that team under his wings. But he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. They will go against him because they don't like him. I'm not wild about Jameis Winston. He has turned me off many, many times, but I will vote for him if he's the best player.
All right, so you heard him. There are 2 major incidents that he's referring to. Obviously, the alleged assault, he was cleared of that, and then recently the crab legs issue. Yeah. If you were the coach, how would you have dealt with Jameis Winston?
About like Jimbo does. You know, with no more issues and a great year, he can win it again. You know, people forget that other stuff.
Would you have disciplined him in a different way?
I would have disciplined him, you know, and I'm sure Jimbo has, you know. But like I say, it's nothing he can't overcome.
Okay. Any questions?
So, Coach, speaking of Jimbo Fisher, man you know well, we had him here on the show, what was it, Carrie, a month or so ago.
About a month.
In all my years of covering sports, I have never heard a college football coach in the preseason be so publicly optimistic about his chances of winning not just maybe the league, but the national championship. Yeah. He is publicly, wholeheartedly embracing being the prohibitive favorite to win it all again. Your thoughts on that approach, which I think would not have been your approach.
No, my approach is not that way. But that's Jimbo. Mm-hmm. I've known Jimbo all his life, and he's always presented a positive picture to his players. and wanting them to grasp that and to play with ultimate confidence, you know. It's just a fine line of overconfidence, you know. And but Jimbo's approach is different from mine. You know, I was kind of conservative and afraid and all that.
You are what I would call the classic, and most coaches are, the poor mouther.
Maybe we can. Maybe we'll do it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. But Jimbo takes the other approach, and when he coached with me for 3 years, coached my son Terry for quite a few years, and but he's always taken an optimistic approach, and has backed it up.
Okay, what is the downside of that approach?
The downside is your boys never hear anything negative. They never hear of what, hey, you know, y'all could lose a game. Y'all could lose some games, you know. They never hear that approach.
So they might not play with what's called appropriate fear, you know, like, right?
Yeah, because I think you have to have a little fear, you know.
Brings out the best.
A fear of failure, you know. Yeah, it makes you prepare better. And you know, I've got a lot of confidence in Jimbo. I've known him for a long time, and he's been so successful wherever he's been, whether LSU or Florida State or wherever. And he was a great player. Oh, he was a great player in college, but it was a small school, you know. And so I'm anxious to see how this thing pans out.
So are you with him that you would really favor Florida State to win it all?
I would. Here's the way I look at it. There's probably 5 or 6 or 7 teams right now that are good enough to win the national championship. There ain't but one of them going to win it. You know what? And they're going to have a little break here, a little break there, or they ain't going to make it. Somebody will have a lucky break, you know.
A little miracle.
Maybe a
miracle of some sort.
Exactly. Look at Alabama. Alabama, all they had to do is not kick off that ball, and then they might have won that darn national championship.
But they didn't.
There's a lot of ifs.
Okay, so speaking of this year's national championship and the way it will be decided, I have read that you are against the new 4-team tournament to decide the national championship. Tell us why.
Yeah. They can do it if they want to, and I'll support them.
Oh, okay.
I like it the way it was. I coached 57 years. I played it 10 years before that. We never had a playoff.
No.
Everything was good. Everything worked good. We got in 5 times, you know, 1, 2 of them. And but here's the thing about it. When you did it the way we did it last year and the year before and the year before, they always got 1 and 2 right. Now 3's never going to be happy, but 5's not going to be happy now.
You're right about that.
But 1 and 2, you got 1 and 2. Whoever wins that game is national champion. Now we're going to get 4 teams. One of them's going to be 14-0. This is going to be 13-0. This is going to be 10-1. This is going to be 10-2. 2 losses. What if they win that darn thing? We got a 2-loss team. We're saying it's national champion. I won't agree that that's the best football team in the country, but that's the way we do it. But basketball does it.
Okay, but
baseball does it.
There were still debates about who that second team should be, the 2 versus 3 debate.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you can, you know, I could argue I would rather have a 4-5 debate than a 2-3 debate, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd soon have 1 and 2.
But you support it no matter what.
No matter they voted, that's what I'll go with.
A matchup tonight between number 9 South Carolina and number 21 Texas A&M. On the sidelines, you'll also see that man there, Steve Spurrier. He enters his 10th season as a coach of the Gamecocks. He has 199 career wins. And as SEC head coach, he's putting him in that class with those folks, Bear Bryant and Vince Dooley. His casual style has left many to question how he does it. So we talk about him for the moment. Skip Bayless, do you think Steve Spurrier is over or underrated?
Shannon Sharpe, I'm going to disqualify myself here. I'm going to be objective here. I think he's underrated, but I know him and I like the heck out of him, and I always have, because this man will tell you exactly what he thinks. Shannon Sharpe will tell you exactly what he thinks. I respect that, and I gravitate toward that. But in Steve Spurrier's case, he does not mind and never has minded playing the villain in college football. He almost welcomes the villain role to the point of being a wrestling-type villain. Right. You know exactly what Coach Spurrier, the old ball coach, is thinking on the sidelines as you watch him tonight. If he doesn't like the pass that Dylan Thompson just threw, he might just take his visor and throw it in the ground and publicly humiliate that young man, because that's Steve Spurrier. He won a Heisman Trophy, and I think he's an all-time great coach just on his legacy. I'm surprised he hasn't won more than 1 national championship. But he will embrace the role of doing whatever he wants on the sideline whenever he wants to do it, and in the postgame or maybe the pregame press conference, he might just say anything as a shot at said opponent. Just a couple of quick quotes from the past, some of my favorites. We just had Coach Bowden on. Do you remember the quote about Florida State?
Free shoes.
You know what FSU stands for, don't you? Free Shoes University. Wow, that was post-scandal at Florida State. Then of Georgia, he once said, I sort of always kind of like playing them the second game of the season because you can always count on them having 2 or 3 key players suspended. That's tremendous. And finally, the coup de grace on Peyton Manning when he was at Tennessee. And if you recall, the old ball coach owned Peyton Manning when he was coaching Florida versus Tennessee. Coach Spurrier said, I know why Peyton came back for his senior year. He wanted to be a 3-time star of the Citrus Bowl. Well, that's tremendous.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to turn you into a villain in a sport of college football in which heroes and villains are more prominent among the coaches. That's kind of how we like to view them. I hate your school, I love my school. Well, because of his villain role that he plays, his curmudgeon role sometimes, I think it has hurt his legacy in the minds of some viewers.
I agree, because when you take shots at a guy like a Peyton Manning or Bobby Bowden, who are some of the all-time favorites in college football, people tend to dislike you. Is he Bear Bryant? Absolutely not.
I'm with you.
But, you know, I can see where they talk about the Vince Dooley, because Vince Dooley only won 1 national championship, and he was at the University of Georgia for an extended period of time.
And you grew up in that state.
I grew up in Georgia. Now, in today's coaches, I think it's Nick Saban.
And all the rest?
It's Nick Saban, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you want Bob Stoops, Les Miles, or whomever, the guy at Ohio State, Urban Meyer, if you want him. But it's right now, it's Nick Saban. There's really no one else is really in his ball game. But I think he's a very, very good coach, because he's coached the Gamecocks to their 3 most successful seasons in the history of that university.
All the last 3.
The last 3 years. He went and he did something that I don't think any other coach at the University of South Carolina could have done. He got Jadeveon Clowney to come there. This was the most sought after recruit when he was coming out, and he got him to stay home. Nick Saban and Les Miles, everybody in the country wanted this guy.
And where did your big brother?
He played at the University of South Carolina.
So you have a good feel for that program and its history, right?
Yes. And so I think he's I think he ranks favorably among all the coaches coaching right now in college football, other than Nick Saban.
I'm with you on this. And I look at South Carolina that you brought up, that they've had a good but not great football history.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, very fair, very fair.
So the great Lou Holtz preceded Coach Spurrier there. And Lou turned it around. They went from 0-11 to 8-4, and then he had a 9-3, and then they began to tail off again, because in the Southeastern Conference, it's not easy for South Carolina to recruit against those other big boys, right? Okay. So for Spurrier, and he's been there quite a while now, to slowly turn it into 3 straight 11-2s, including the highest AP poll finish ever last year of 4th overall, that's pretty great to me at that school. And I think they have a chance this year, depending on how that young quarterback steps in. He's played a little bit, but we need to see him be the Connor Shaw, the man. Okay, I think they have a chance to make this playoff system, the 4-team playoff.
And plus what he was able to do, he was able to keep some of the in-state best players from going to Clemson. Because in years past, all the in-state best players, they went to Clemson. He got the Jadeveon Clowneys. He got the Marcus Lattimores. He got those guys to, come to Carolina. And it showed in how he can recruit, because everybody knows he's a great recruiter. You love playing for his offensive football team when he's at the University of Florida. Had a Heisman Trophy winner. His receivers went very high in the draft in the National Football League, although his quarterbacks and receivers didn't do very much once they got to the NFL. But that's a selling point, same selling point.
Could Shannon Sharpe have survived under Coach Spurrier if, in fact, he showed you up on the sideline in front of the national TV cameras?
I didn't have a problem. The only problem, my coaches, I was good with coaching. But when Mary Porter, my grandmother, sent me from Glenville, Georgia, 18, she sent me away as a man. You couldn't curse me.
Okay.
But if you want to coach me, you can coach me.
That's well said.
But don't curse me.
And I don't know this for a fact. I'm not sure he's a cursor. He's just.
But at that point in time, Skip, for me, I went to college. It was a means to an end. I went to college to try to go to the next level. So whatever coach wanted me to do, how long he wanted me to do it, I was going to do it.
So you weren't a problem. You said he wouldn't have a problem with you at all.
I have no problem with any coach.
Yeah.
Now, once you get to a certain juncture in your life, and all of a sudden you go to one of these coaches, it becomes a little bit more difficult. You hear Michael Strahan, how he had to deal with Tom Coughlin because he wasn't used to that type of coaching.
I get it. Okay, so bottom line, from a distance, as a retired star football player, are you okay with these shots that he took at Florida State, Georgia, and Peyton Manning?
I love it. Okay. I love it.
All right.
I might have gotten me a couple in there, too.
You might have.
We leave it there. Are you guys enjoying Shannon Sharpe on the show today? I am. You're bringing a little extra energy.
I love it. I have.
You got Skip on his AAA game.
I always wanted to debate Skip. But this lip sparring, Skip, I'm 500-0 in lip sparring. I'm undefeated.
Lip sparring.
And here I thought I was undefeated.
No, I'm the lip sparring champ.
That's up to you at home to decide.
Now, next up, we might have to try this.
Okay.
That would be a whole other.
And then you probably beat him then, huh?
I don't know.
I don't know, Shannon.
I think I got him. I think I can get him. He might cannot run me in a mile.
I don't know. If I take this off, you might be surprised.
Gun show!
maybe 2 miles. I think I can beat you in a mile.
This Sunday night, the heat is on in Atlanta. The drama heightens with only 2 races till the playoffs. Casey, Austin, and Kyle Larson sit on the bubble and need a win to secure a spot in the all-new Chase. 43 drivers battle, 16 advance, 2 races to go. The Oral-B USA 500 in Atlanta, Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN.
Final preseason game with Steelers and Panthers. The Steelers are still dealing with the fallout of LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell, both cited for marijuana use on the way to a preseason game. Ed Bouchette of the Gazette feels as if Mike Tomlin and the Steeler organization will not suspend either running back based on NFL rules. But you may remember Tomlin has been known to issue discipline in the past, as was the case with Santonio Holmes in 2008. So I ask Shannon Sharpe, what should Mike Tomlin do?
Well, I think he missed the boat on this one, because I think, and I know people are going to say, well, it was just a preseason game and you don't bench people, but I don't think you ever missed the opportunity or passed the opportunity to send the right message. Look, I know guys are going to be guys. These guys obviously weren't in the program, but all I ask is the day before and the day of the game that you don't do what you normally do. The day before and the day of. I don't really think that's asking a lot, Skip. And for these guys to be on their way to the team charter, to go catch a plane and go to Philly to play a game, and you're doing that on the way. And then for Le'Veon Bell, if what is being reported is true, that I didn't know you can get under the influence by doing marijuana and driving, which clearly lets me know that marijuana is more harmful than we previously thought. But I think the Steelers might be holding back because they don't want to do double jeopardy here. I think they're thinking the league is going to step in because it became so public. So it's almost like the commissioner is going to have to do something.
Right.
And he doesn't want to step in before the league steps in. But I do believe the league is going to suspend these guys at least 1, maybe 2 games.
I am with you on that. But as I said, and Kerry can attest, the morning after this incident, I was disappointed in Mike Tomlin that he didn't take an immediate stand.
Yes.
I was disappointed in what I consider maybe the model franchise.
Yeah, they're the gold standard now.
This is the gold standard.
Yes.
This is the Rooney family. And they hired a sharp young coach off the Minnesota staff named Mike Tomlin, who became Stephen A's favorite coach and one of my favorite coaches. And I had nothing but respect. But had a rough year last year, and I guess you could make some case that he's on a little bit of a, maybe not a hot seat, but a heating up seat.
Heating pad.
Yeah, heating pad, yeah. Maybe there's just a heating pad. But it's time, you got to bounce back and be the Steelers again. So they go out and they get a LeGarrette Blount, who's one of the hottest ball carriers, both return and out of the backfield at the end of the year last year for the Patriots. And as I've called them, they don't just have thunder and light. They got thunder and thunder now in their backfield, but they don't have much after those 2 young men. And so he faces that preseason game in question, and he's thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to penalize the rest of my football team because we don't have a back on the roster who's legit? That little Dree Archer's like a little slot receiver. Yeah, right. But you can't line him up back there at the tailback and hammer him between the tackles in a preseason game. And so I think Mike Tomlin just said, well, for the good of my job and my football team, I'm just going to damn the torpedoes here, and I'm going to play these guys. And then he tried to sell it as it's more punishment to make them play in a preseason game into the fourth quarter than to send them home. I'm sorry, I disagree. I think the shame is in getting sent home. The public humiliation is you have to go sit on your couch and watch these guys play on TV, to me, because it's embarrassing, and you get shamed in the headline.
Yeah, well, you send them home, and then now all of a sudden your teammates are possibly wondering, well, why LeGarrette and why Le'Veon are not playing? Why are they not on the plane? Because now when you go back in the locker room the following day after they get back, they're going to have to answer those questions. That I let you guys down. Because that's the one thing as a professional athlete. The greatest currency that a professional athlete can have is respect. It's not money, because you can't buy it. Someone can't give it to you. You have to earn it. And so that currency goes a long way in the locker room. And these guys let their teammates down. You don't want to, because that's what really ultimately you play for. You're playing to the guy that's next to you and across on the defensive side. You want those guys to believe in you and to trust you wholeheartedly that I put you before me. And these guys on that particular day put me before you. And it's tough to look in a guy's eyes, because I've been in rooms when guys have missed curfew or they've been late for meetings, and we have that meeting and they have to address us. It's a whole different ball game. You know, you playing in the ball game, no one knows what happened. But all of a sudden, you're not on that plane, you don't play in that game, and we got to come back and to find out that you did this.
I'm with you.
Oh, man. Oh, it's the team. It's the team. It's the guys in that locker room that you hate letting down the most.
So I agree with you. Obviously, they're counting the days until these two get suspended for X games. But at the end of the week last week, Mike Tomlin kept everyone at bay by saying publicly suspensions are still on the table by me for both of these two kids, or young men. And now it appears that's off the table. And yet they are going to play tonight. So here we're still, nothing happened. Mike Tomlin, who did take issue with, obviously, Santonio and send him home.
But Santonio had a history.
He did.
Yeah, but this is just Ed Bouchette's take. He believes they won't do anything for the Gazette. So he believes they won't do anything.
And maybe
something could be coming.
Maybe someone, Carrie and Skip, maybe someone from the league office said, hold off. Let us let due process go. Let's see what the police, what they come out with, what they plead to, and then we'll take action after that.
I hope you're right.
All right, so let's discuss another team struggling. So far, Washington's first-team offense has been touchdown-less on the 10 drives that RG3 has led in the first 3 preseason games. Griffin has struggled to adapt to the pocket passing style of play under 1J Gruden. And during Saturday's loss to the Ravens, Joe Theismann even said on the Redskins radio network that he believes that Cousins has played better at quarterback than RG3. Shannon, you watched the game. Your take on RG3, is it at all possible that he's able to turn this around?
I think he can, but I think he's trying to move away from what made him dynamic, and that's his ability to make plays outside of the pocket. He wants to be the prototypical drop-back passer. See, Andrew Luck is a pocket quarterback that can actually run. RG3 is a running quarterback that wants to be able to throw from the pocket. And he's never done this. If you look at what he did at Baylor, it was a lot of read option. It was making plays outside the pocket. He became Rookie of the Year. 700-plus rush yards, making plays outside of the pocket. But in his mind, people still said Andrew Luck was a better quarterback. So he goes back and says, I want to be a pocket quarterback. Well, that's not what you are at this present time. I want to be. Sometimes as an athlete, the same things that makes you great makes you very fallible. That determination, that grit. But it also makes you stubborn and unrelenting, in that you're not willing to listen. And see, I think that's where he and Mike butted heads.
They did.
Mike said, look, I don't have a problem with you becoming a pocket quarterback, but it's going to take time. You know, Steve Young didn't become a pocket quarterback. He spent 2 years in Tampa. He spent 4 years behind Joe. And even when his first year starting, he still wanted to run around. He's like, look, this is not how we're going to win.
First couple of years.
Right. This is not how we're going to win Super Bowls. I think RG3 can, because I think he's been humbled an awful lot because he spent the first 2 years trying to build a brand where Andrew Luck was building his brand of football. And therein lies the difference between the two. But I do believe, because he doesn't have that crutch now, for the longest time, you know what his crutch was?
What?
Mike and Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
They're gone now. So now what is it?
As in adversarial relationship.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You know what, guys? It's hard to play for someone that you don't like.
Really?
It's hard to play.
You can't just go to work and do your job.
No. And it's tough. It's really tough to play for someone that
doesn't believe in you.
Well, you think that they didn't want you here to begin with.
Okay. I agree with that.
So therein lies, some people can compartmentalize and say, look, I have a job to do. I'm going to show up to work, do my job, and I'm going home. RG3 clearly was not that guy because he still held that grudge against Mike. And he felt that, it was Mike's style of offense that got him hurt. And if you noticed, last year preseason, Mike would have a press conference, and then RG3 would have a press conference that refuted what Mike had already said. Mike says, well, he's not going to play in the preseason. RG3 would come back and say, well, I want to play in the preseason.
Yeah.
So
it was a mess.
It was a great situation that they needed to part ways. Obviously, you invested a lot with RG3 with all you gave up to get him. You bring in Jay Gruden. So now I'm looking at it like this. If Jay Gruden can get Andy Dalton to throw for 4,000 yards.
Good point.
With the arm talent that RG3 has.
Thank you.
He should be able to at least, at the bare minimum, do that.
You like that?
Yeah, but before we leave Mike Shanahan, a man you know very well.
Very well.
Do you believe that Mike initially wanted to coach Robert Griffin III?
No, because he knew they were already in salary cap hell. If you give up all these draft picks, where are you going to get? You can't sign anybody via free agency. You can't draft anybody in the first 2 rounds. So how do we make the football team better in the meantime? Because ultimately what I'm judged on is whether or not I can win football games. Well, if I don't get a first rounder next year, a first rounder the year after that, I'm giving up a second round pick. We can't sign anybody because of the salary cap violation that we violated.
Yep. Okay.
How do we make the team better in the meantime?
This is becoming such a painful topic for me. I agree with everything you just said. I appreciate greatly everything you just said. And back to the question, will he turn it around this year? I don't know. And I sure hope so, because just for your edification, before that draft that you referred to, I went on record and said Robert Griffin III will prove to be a better NFL quarterback than Andrew Luck. What blasphemy came out of my mouth. Stephen A. Smith said, no, you are wrong, and he put all of his eggs in the Luck basket.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, that rookie year, I looked pretty good, and I felt pretty good.
Yeah, Nostradamus. You know everything.
I looked good. I looked good all the way through the first, half of that playoff game against Seattle at Washington. They were rolling up 14-0. Boom, knee again, and then knee again, and we're done. Now it's a brave new world for Robert Griffin III. I can't defend the way he conducted himself through that next offseason with the Gatorade documentary. It's just, come on.
Getting married.
Oh. You wanted him to go away.
Go
You're like, just
away.
sit somewhere
I don't want to hear from you
and
until
be
you're
quiet.
well.
Yes.
And you're ready to prove that you can do this again. Stephen A. Smith and I both have a Redskins source we know very well, who told us that no, Mike Shanahan wasn't initially on board with making the trade you refer to, but that he got on board once the trade was made. I'm assuming it came from the top man, the guy who owns, Dan Snyder, and he said, okay, I'm going to coach the heck out of Robert Griffin, and I think he did that rookie year. And I am so with you that Robert...
And he put a system in that he was unfamiliar with because he runs...
That Mike was unfamiliar with. Yeah.
Mike Shanahan, in his true essence, is a West Coast, San Francisco 49er-based offensive coach.
Okay. So here we have a Robert Griffin whose success is predicated on the threat of doing this. Yes. Every once in a while, you have to threaten that you're going to pull it back from Alfred Morris and maybe step back and throw it, or you're going to keep it around the wide open left end for 8 yards. Right. And 8 yards are 8 yards. If you can then get your 8 and get down, we're good to go. Right. Because the rules are rigged to protect you.
Yes.
As soon as you give up and slide, they cannot even touch you, or it's 15 yards. But you have to, A, learn to slide.
Yeah, which is a whole nother discussion.
Which seems such a superb, internationally type gifted athlete, a world-class Olympic-style athlete. Seems like you could finally learn to slide a little bit, but we're still not quite there. Okay, so then through that offseason, and I think his father was influencing him also because he did get hurt running the football. They both decided, let's be. I think they were going beyond Andrew Luck. They wanted to be Peyton Manning,
Tom Brady.
Yeah, whatever. And so again, does that mean? Look, there's no shame in being Robert Griffin III, and it also doesn't mean you don't have big arm talent because he does.
Yeah.
At Baylor, there were times he would just drop straight back and bombs away against my Oklahoma Sooners and just obliterate them with the deep ball because he can throw the heck out of it.
Yes.
But at the NFL level, why not use God's gift that you have? You can do this. You're a great ball handler, and every once in a while, if you can do the little read option, read, ride and decide, and then take off for 8 yards, it keeps the defense off balance.
Right.
It's your advantage that Andrew Luck doesn't have. Peyton and Tom don't have that advantage. You can do it, and you can do it, I think, relatively safely and survive for 10, 12, 15 years. Okay? So he won't do it. So I'm not sure what we're going to see, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now I'm having to bank on Jay Gruden getting back through to a quarterback who had the 5th best QBR in the league 2 years ago and plummeted to 29th last year. That's a record plunge. What happened? Is it just your health? Is it just you weren't ready on your knee? I don't know. I think he lost his confidence last year.
Yesterday, or the other day when we talked about it, I said we don't know if he's physically and mentally healthy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, it's going to take some time because, he's going to have to get out there. I mean, he was so, all in for week 1. But what about the other 15 games?
And didn't play a preseason snap?
Right, and that's the thing. See, the quarterback position is different. These guys says, look, I want to prove to you that I can do this. Look, I was known as receiving tight end. I never went to Mike and said, Mike, let's just run the ball today. Let TV run behind me. I want to prove I can run block. No. Let me get down the field. Do what you're good at. And eventually you can evolve. But it's going to take time because that's not. See, Kirk Cousins looked better at playing the quarterback position.
That's what he is.
Because he is a pocket passer.
That's fine.
That's what he did at Michigan State.
All right. Have you seen any flashes of the Rookie of the Year RG3 in this preseason?
I honestly, Skip, I saw one, the deep bomb that he threw.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I agree.
I've seen one.
I'm with you.
I don't know how many snaps he's played, maybe 30, 35, but I've seen one snap in 35 or 40 plays that he looked like the old Robert Griffin.
That is horrifying. Because are we starting to see what we saw last year? They got him a Deshaun. The defense is healthier and better with Ryan Clark and his experience in the secondary. Rakpo's healthy. We can go on and on. They look pretty good to me. They're on the verge of being. They could win this division, but the quarterback's going to have to be the Rookie of the Year.
He's going to have to be the ROI. He's going to have to be.
And that's the big question mark.
Yes.
Can he be? All right. Look at this. Someone's tweeting and watching. Good job by my man Shannon filling in for me today and tomorrow on ESPN First Take. Keep it up, bro. Skip Bayless. Behave yourself. Behave. Skip Bayless.
I'm actually having to work today.
I know, right?
Is the mayor actually in South Beach today, or is he,
Oh, well.
We don't know.
We can't say if we did. That'd be top secret. Not on live television, Shannon.
I'll call you, Steven.
All right.
I miss you, big man.
You do. Oh, you cried a little. You had a tissue back there, a tear drop.
Yeah.
To the NFL. After Eagles wideout Riley Cooper was caught on video last year using racial slurs, Michael Vick publicly forgave him. And recently, Vick said standing by Cooper was the best thing he's done as a professional athlete. Here's a quote. He told ESPNNewYork.com, "I just hope he's appreciative of my boldness to step out in front of the world and say what I said. And he appreciates what I did and understands the magnitude of it because nobody else was going to step up and say anything. A couple of things transpired since the incident that I dislike, and I'll be honest with you. After he signed his contract, I sent him a text, and I never got a text back, and that made me feel a certain type of way. But I'm not the type of guy who holds grudges, but you surely don't forget, clearly, Vic." Shannon, your reaction?
I'm surprised that Riley Cooper did not respond to Michael Vick's text message, considering what Michael Vick did. Michael Vick went out on a very short limb for Riley Cooper. And when I talk, and you notice, and I tell people this, and they say, well, every time you talk about your success, you mention John Elway. Because he didn't have to do what he did for me.
Nice.
And a way of repaying him and showing my gratitude, every chance when someone asks me about my career, I bring him in it. Because I know what he meant to me in my career. if I'm a player that's coming into the league and I've had, a couple of run-ins in college, or, maybe I have a bad rep, the person that I want to meet, not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, be Michael Vick. Because here's a man that went to the depths. You lose a $130 million contract. You spend 21 months in Leavenworth. Leavenworth is not a resort. It's real hardcore. And to come back and to become the man, now, he's never going to be the Michael Vick experience that we saw in Atlanta.
Sure.
But to come back and be the man that he became speaks volumes to who Michael Vick is. I would be disappointed. I was in a similar situation in 1997 when Bill Romanowski spit in J.J. Stokes' face. And it was something that was really divisive for our football team, because I was a dominating voice at that time in that locker room. And we had a team meeting. And I said, Romo, I don't want to have this get back to you and you wonder whether or not I said it. I said, but if you had did that to me, I'd have had to whip you. And if we go to a golf tournament and you show up, I got to take the golf club to you. Because the worst thing you can do as you being a white man is to spit in a black man's face. You basically told me, you called me the N-word without saying it.
Correct.
And for you to do that, Romo said something, and I believe that he meant it. He said, I was wrong. He said, we were losing and my emotions got the best of me. He said, but guys, I promise you, that won't happen again. Once he said that, I was at peace with what he said. But I wanted him to know that I had him on notice. And any other instance, because, and people are like, well, that's your teammate, you can support him. I say, right is right, wrong is wrong. If my brother is wrong, I'm mad enough to tell my brother he's wrong. Yeah, he's my teammate. We meet, we got the same common goal. He wants to be Super Bowl champ, I want to be Super Bowl champ. But there's a right and wrong way to do anything. And he took the wrong way. He took the coward's way out. Don't do that. Michael Vick stuck his neck out for Riley Cooper. Because, see, discipline requires you to do your best, your very best, when no one's watching. Riley Cooper had no idea that was being recorded. He spoke the truth from his heart.
Totally agree.
See, you don't say it with that kind of, because, see, if you notice what he said, I would fight any of them in here.
Plural.
He was passionate about it because he didn't think anybody was watching. And remember, I told you earlier, the night has 1,000 eyes. Some night it has 1,002 because someone sees or hears what you're doing.
Yep.
For Michael Vick to do what he did, because Kerry Williams, you already know how Kerry Williams felt about it, the cornerback, and he's still feeling some kind of way about it if you ask him to this day.
Yep.
I think even if he didn't mean it, I think Riley Cooper owed him a response back. Thanks, bro. Success to you also.
Appreciate it.
And leave it like that. Yeah. But for you not to call the man back after he did, it's almost like, Skip, if you co-sign for a guy to get a job, the guy gets the job and you say congratulations and he doesn't respond back to you. Bro, I'm feeling some kind of way now. Now what, really? This what you think of me after what I did for you? This is how you're going to repay me? This is the thanks, the gratitude that I get? No. Okay, fine, I did it. I did that out of the kindness of my heart. I didn't do it to receive no kind of medal. I didn't want to show people I had changed. I did it because I thought this was the best thing to do for this team. But this, obviously, this is how you feel. We good with it. I'm moving on. You ain't got to worry about me. Kick rocks.
Okay, before I say what I'm going to say about Riley Cooper, and God knows I'm no Riley Cooper fan, is it possible he changed his number? And it's possible. Let's just be fair here. Like Riley Cooper changed his phone number, and so Michael was texting a dead number. Is that possible?
It's a possibility.
Don't know.
That is true. I change my number every so often.
Whatever.
So yeah, sure.
I was on record the day after that video broke at that country concert in which Riley Cooper was caught on tape revealing his heart. Plural. All the N's here, and he used just to differentiate
the hard ER.
Hard ER. I said the Eagles have to cut bait with this man for the sake of their locker room. They have to get rid of him now. Take a stand, make a statement. We will not tolerate this on our football team. and they did not. And Riley Cooper was barely wrist slapped. What was it?
He
they
went
sent
to
him away
for a weekend.
Something. It was like gone for like 3 days.
Yeah.
What treatment do you go to for saying those type of words?
I don't know. Sensitivity training or something of that
So
nature.
the next thing that happened was the very first day Michael Vick said, and I'm slightly paraphrasing, I thought I knew him, I guess I didn't. But then a day later, Michael Vick shocked me by standing up for this man, saying, I'm going to forgive and forget. I've talked to him. I believe him, and I'm okay with this. I was dumbfounded because Michael Vick was the leader of that football team, as you were the leader and the biggest voice in your Denver locker room. And the others fell in line behind Michael Vick. Most of them, maybe Kerry Williams, but most of the prominent black players, LaShawn and Deshaun, seemed to fall in line.
Well, he was on our show. He said he...
Deshaun
Sean was on the fence.
He's a little shaky.
Yeah.
That was at the Super Bowl. But at the time, they all said, we're barely okay with it because we liked him before and we're going to buy his story now, that this was a one-time thing. No. I'm sorry. No. I'm not buying it. And I feel like even though that was very big of Michael Vick, and I've said many times on this show, the transformation that man underwent from prison to where he was, say, 3 years later, was the most impressive transformation I have ever witnessed in the field of sports.
Yes.
Because I buy into it. Now, we opened the show talking about the Josh Shaw issue. Should you trust what you... I don't know Michael Vick. I've met him a couple times here on the show, so I hope I'm seeing the real, but I think I am.
Right.
TV is telling me, and all the people I know who know Michael Vick are telling me, this is a real, authentic, genuine transformation. So his heart, he is showing you. He's wearing it on his sleeve when he decided we got to be bigger than this as a football team. We're going to rise above this. We're going to forgive and forget and move forward. And by the way, Riley Cooper had a heck of a year last year.
Yeah.
So they made him comfortable enough to bring him back into their fold, as you did with Romanowski. Now, I don't know if going forward you felt a little different about Bill Romanowski.
No, I mean, I had heard things about what, but speculation, I don't want to get in that. But when he did what he did, but to do that in a football game on national television when you know the cameras are watching, to do that, it did change me a little bit. But you know what? I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And, I talked to him, and we talked because the one thing I can say about Romo, he was a hard worker. He wanted to be the best he could possibly be. He went over the line that time. But I just wanted him to know he was going to have a problem with me because one of us would have had to leave.
You got it. But I know Bill fairly well, Bill Romanowski. Part of his game, he was an overachiever, obviously, not the most gifted guy. It was a lot of work and a lot of effort, and he's about half crazy, which is always a good thing.
Half?
Yeah, maybe 2/3.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say.
But part of his game was psychological intimidation. So he saw JJ as a little soft, a little vulnerable. So he's going to take it completely over the edge. If I spit in this man's face, I will own him the rest of the game. That's a terrible word to use in that context. Forgive me for that. But you know what I mean. Psychologically, he's thinking, I will defeat him at this moment. That's his M.O. But again, to your point, I'm totally with you that I would, you were right to stand up and say, Romo, you and I have a big problem here. We're going to have to resolve this. And I thought you would tell me that going forward, you would always be a little leery of that.
No, because I didn't have time because I wasn't going to let him have my feelings held hostage by my negative feeling because he has moved on with his life. So I'm moving on mine as well. But I think hopefully if Riley Cooper watches this or hears this, he can reach out to Michael Vick.
I sure hope.
Because you make a good point. Maybe it was a dead number. I like you saying he can't hold your feelings hostage. Well said. Richie Incognito was cleared this week to play in the NFL's regular season, and the Buccaneers immediately met with him on Monday. The Bucs aren't the only team willing to give Incognito another chance. Colts coach Chuck Pagano made it clear that they would also consider adding Incognito to their offensive line if it makes sense and if it's going to help them win. Shannon, the question is for you. Would you want him on your team?
My old college coach used to say, son, it's called production versus tolerance. If production is up here, tolerance can be up here. But tolerance can never outweigh production. And right now there are teams that need an offensive lineman. And if they feel Richie Incognito can come in and help them, they're going to bring him in. You know what? Kerry, I don't go to church all the time. As a matter of fact, I hadn't been to church in a very long time. But my grandmother raised me the right way. I'm a very forgiving man. I believe that people deserve a second chance. And sometimes I'm willing to give a third chance if it's warranted. But I would want the team, if I'm on that team, I would want them, if they're going to think about bringing Richie Incognito in, if I'm one of the leaders on that team, we need to have a meeting with all the leaders on that team and to let him know what will be expected and what will be tolerated from him. Because that behavior that he's had in the past can't happen. Because the thing is, when you get a guy like this in your locker room, you can't be surprised if the turnout is unfavorable.
Oh, exactly.
So with that being said, Skip, I would give him an opportunity to come into the locker room. But as a voice, as a leader in that locker room, I would need to meet with him to let him know what would be expected of him. And he's on a very short leash with me. Now, I always had a good sense of the locker room and how the locker room felt. I can assure you he would be on a very short leash with everyone in that locker room.
I hear what you're saying. I think, as I tried to point out to Kara the other day, I think we're on about his fifth chance here. Or sixth.
Yeah.
Nebraska, University of Nebraska said, nope, more trouble than he's worth. He's gone to Oregon last week. Nope, more trouble than he's worth. Rams draft him. Nope, more trouble than he's worth. We know what happened in Miami. Nope, you're out. All kinds of incidents.
Well, in college, once you get to the back of football, I give you a blank slate.
All right.
It's an empty canvas, so we're going to start from fresh. So he's had two chances, what you're saying.
That's fine, but I think you have to look at track record, and you have to date it back to college just to see what this man is made or not made of. He's a talented football player. 2012, he made a Pro Bowl. 2012, also voted by the South Florida chapter of the Pro Football Writers, the Good Guy Award that Shannon Sharpe was also voted occasionally for his football teams, for being the player most helpful to the media in doing their jobs. Richie Incognito is a quote machine. He's a bright young man. He went to the program at Harvard and Northwestern, the NFL-sponsored business programs in that 2012 offseason. Has, I would think, a pretty high IQ.
Obviously.
And he also has some con artistry operating within him because he can be a bully. He did take over the Dolphin locker room. Some players, black and white, were afraid of him.
A lot of them were afraid of him.
Afraid of him because he's a big, powerful man who can be a little crazy. He's got that psycho side to him also that you sometimes need to have to play that game at that high of a level. But in this case, I would not want him as my teammate because I'm pretty sure he's still more trouble than he's worth. I'm pretty sure he will turn into a divisive force within any locker room that he is a member of. But if you're telling me that Shannon Sharpe's locker room would have such strong sort of quote-unquote senior leadership, well then maybe you got a chance. Maybe you sit him down and put fear of God in Richie and say, no, this is no tolerance in here. We are one. We are a collective unit, and we are going to win football games, and you are going to be an important cog in that offense, but only a cog. And in here, you're going to pretty much mind your business, and we're all going to have fun winning football games together. Now, would he listen to you? I don't know. Did he fool a lot of people that he was around? Yeah, he did.
But Skip, the thing, the dynamic of a locker room, a sports locker room, is different. While we're all friendly, we're not all friends. See, that needs to be taken into account. See, because everybody automatically thinks because you're in a 53-man locker room, you're friends with everyone. No, you are friendly, but you're not friends. Because I can assure you, everybody that works at this company, ESPN, although they might be friendly to one another.
Well, co-workers.
Exactly.
That's it.
And so that's what you do. I want you to come do your job while you allow me to do my job.
Okay.
But in doing your job, it can't have me addressing issues that's not related to football. You bullying, you calling people the N-word, that's not football related. Now, if we're going to talk about football and we're going to deal with football related issues, well, hey, that's normal everyday talk in a football locker room. But when I have to step outside of that and I have to address issues that's not football related, Kerry, then that's where he and I would run into the problems, and I think the locker room would run into a problem.
Will somebody sign him? I'm sure they
will. Shannon says he'd have to have a conversation, but he'd forgive him. Give him a second, perhaps third chance. Skip Bayless, not so much. Tough guy.
No.
He's a tough guy. Earlier, we took a look at the Football Outsiders Almanac Super Bowl chances for the AFC. You may remember Denver was ahead. Now let's look at the Super Bowl chances for the NFC. The Green Bay Packers are at 10.7%. The Seahawks are at 10.1%. And the Eagles, dead last, 6.5.
Huh.
Remember, 1 million simulations were ran.
I'm having problems today with Football Outsiders. Forgive me, Football Outsiders, but
very
just as it was ludicrous for Denver to be the prohibitive favorite in the AFC, it is equally ludicrous for Seattle to not be the prohibitive favorite in the NFC. This should be run away. I'm starting to think that the Seattle Seahawks, who might not be quite as good on defense, but are going to be much better on offense and equally dominant as they were last year, I'm starting to think they might sweep the quote-unquote toughest division in football, the NFC West, because San Francisco is struggling on offense. Carson Palmer continues to struggle for Arizona, which lost Dockett and Darrell Washington on the defense. No Sam Bradford, obviously, in St. Louis, and you'd probably think no chance for St. Louis. So I'm saying what's not to like about Seattle and what is to like about the Green Bay defense, which was 25th in yards allowed last year, signed Julius Peppers, age 34, who did not make the Pro Bowl last year in his 13th season. Is that going to turn your defense around? Will Clinton Dix that you drafted to play safety, will he turn your defense around? I'm sorry. I respect Aaron Rodgers. I know he's the bad man. Blah, 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 blah.
If I had one choice to take a quarterback, that's who I would take.
Well, I would take Tom Brady. Thank you very much. But you can have Aaron Rodgers and you can have the Packers' chances because they should not be as good or better than Seattle's chances.
Well, when I look at it like this, when a team is going for a repeat championship as the Seahawks are, there's two things that will derail that: complacency and injury. That's what happened. We repeated when we had John Elway, and we didn't repeat because we lost Jamal Lewis in training camp, and that really hurt our chances. I like the Seattle Seahawks because they get Percy Harvin for an entire season.
You would hope so.
Offensively, because he had the injury, the hip injury, the migraines. That's always a possibility. But you get him, Marshawn Lynch, now the third year of Russell Wilson. I think defensively they're still going to be equally as good. Now we're going to see how they're going to actually call the illegal contact.
Yeah.
All that goes into it because that changed a lot of the dynamics with the New England Patriots, because once they started calling it, the Ty Laws and the Otis Smith, they couldn't get away with all that. It really changed their defensive strategy. So it's going to be interesting. But I agree with you, Skip. I think the Seahawks should be at least what Denver was over the New England Patriots in the NFC.
Wow.
Because that was a lot.
That
was more than twice.
Yes,
much.
Twice that much.
So I am with you. We finally agreed on something.
Honey, it took to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen, for it to happen. Shannon Sharpe,
where are the Cowboys at?
Hall of Famer. The Famer will be with us tomorrow, so you definitely want to tune in and catch it. Stephen
You're coming back?
He's coming back.
After all that?
You stuck with me one more day.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
For Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe, I'm Carrie Champion.